Meeting the Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Abraham.
Here.
Lynch.
Here.
Urick.
Yes.
Kish. We're all here. Okay. I have the September 24th, 2024 meeting minutes from the regular meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees. The meeting was called to order at 7 p.m. by Lynch. Pledge of the flag. Roll call. Abraham, Lynch, Urick were present. Kish was absent. Additional attendees was Case Marsh, C. Varro, C. Nyhart, and G. Lynch. 9/6/24, a motion by Urick, seconded by Abraham to approve the September 10th, 2024 regular meeting minutes as presented. All ayes. 9/7/24, a motion by Urick, seconded by Abraham. Move to approve the financial reports and payment of items on the payment listing as presented and with reservations. All ayes. 9/8/24, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham. Move to approve that the August 2024 credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed per policy and is accepted as presented, subject to investigation. All ayes. There were no audience concerns. Under correspondence, in the absence of the fiscal officer, Trustee Lynch reported that the fraud reporting and training from the Ohio Auditor of State, Keith Faber, for all township employees is 100% complete. Lastly, Trustee Lynch reported the next Sandstone Joint Ambulance District meeting will be held on 11/7/24 at 11 a.m. at the Amherst Fire Station. OTA training for 2025 will be $250, and OTA will send an invoice to the fiscal officer. Under reports for zoning, 9/9/24, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, to reconsider Resolution 9/3/24 regarding the building official agreement. Roll call was all ayes. Road, Parks, and Cemeteries, Superintendent Smarsh reported regular maintenance. Generator was serviced and repaired. Several complaints received regarding flooding along a tributary to the Engle Ditch, flooding of properties and overstaying road. Road Superintendent Smarsh will discuss options with property owners. Under complaints, they were being handled by the designated individual. Reiterating that trick-or-treat will be held on Sunday, October 27th, 2024 from 1 to 3 p.m. in Amherst Township. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, October 8th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. 9/10/24, a motion by Abraham, seconded by Urick, to adjourn at 7:30 p.m. All ayes.
Are there any changes or corrections to the September 24th meeting minutes?
No.
You can have a motion to approve.
So move. Second.
Urick?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
You also have the financial reports and payments of items in front of you. Really nothing out of the ordinary.
Generator systems, was that for the generator?
That was the repair for the generator.
Was any of that covered under warranty or?
Don't know.
Haven't had that long.
Then Nyhart's home improvement was for steps that were repaired on the rental property. Horseman was for building permits. Everything else was supplies or regular monthly bills. Newsletter was in there.
Can I ask Chris on the revenue summary under the general fund? I don't know if this was just an adjustment where it has negative 12,000 and change from intergovernmental, but a positive 12,000 license permit and fees.
Which one are you on? I'm sorry.
The revenue summary for month to date.
Intergovernmental.
Yeah, the one's negative for intergovernmental for 12,000, added 12,000 for license permits and fees.
Yeah, it's probably just where it's coming.
Okay, so it's
where
just
it's
a
going.
move
Yeah,
it
it's just
between the sub-accounts.
where I'm putting it as opposed to.
Okay.
You know, I think that was one of the ones that I received a message from that we were not, what we had projected for revenue was not where it should be, so I think I moved something that I should have put in that category.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought it would have been exact, but something else could have come in. That it looks like it just switched from one to the other.
Yeah. So that's exactly what it was. I put it in, took it out of one and put it in the other because of that message that I had received.
Okay.
Year-to-date expenditures are $1,135,691.18. Got that, David?
Yeah, 1.135 million.
And our year-to-date revenue is $1,589,538.42.
Are there any other questions on any of the financials or the
Is financial.
payment listing? If not, I'm going to make a motion to approve the financial reports and the payments of the items on the payment listing as specified in the documents provided by the fiscal officer.
Second, I approve of that motion.
Lynch?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
And the number on that, Chris?
It's 10-2. And I wasn't sure if you wanted to go right into...
We are. I've got it.
Okay.
I've got it down as item C under the fiscal officer's financials. And what Chris is referring to, if you go into your packet, you do have a prepared resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor per revised code section 5705.34 through .35. And I don't know if anyone cares to actually go through the numbers or not, but you've got the full packet there. You know, the levies are all the same. Nothing's been changed there for quite a few years. And you see where the estimates are for coming in for some of the other funds that are non-levy funds, like the gas fund and the help me out here, for the cable franchise fees.
Mhm.
Are you firsting that motion?
Well, I'll make the motion to bring it to the floor as I read it, but are there any questions or anything
No,
you
I'll
want?
second that motion.
Okay, if there's no questions, then roll call, Chris?
Lynch?
Yes, and
Abraham?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
that's obviously
10-3.
10-3.
We'll make sure that gets back to...
Okay, we have no visitors here, so we'll move on to correspondence. Chris?
I just wanted to report, I didn't really have a correspondence, but I wanted to report that we've been contacted by the auditor's office, and they are going to be doing a full audit that will begin next week and over the next few months, and that it's a very huge undertaking. They just sent me what seems to be books
So we'll
of things that they're
have the
going to
higher
need.
cost then, too.
Yeah, so it would be appreciated that if I ask for any help, that I need a copy of something, that it just be sent. I've already been doing that, so it's appreciated.
You know when they're going to start?
I guess they're considered starting already by sending me, this is what we need, and I just told them, give me the weekend to process all this?
Yeah.
'Cause it's a lot, because it's a full audit, not
Right.
an AUP, so.
Do they do that on a random basis?
No, we've had the smaller version probably for the last 3.
We actually want one extra term because I think it says you can do 2 max in a row, and
Yeah.
I think we had 3.
Yes,
That
we
might have been
did.
because of COVID. I don't know their logic in that.
So this is a full one, and he was like, I'm sorry, it is going to be really extensive. And I was,
Not only is there the burden of getting the added information, but it's important to be done, but there's a higher cost to us for it.
and then I also just wanted to note that I'll be attending the Ohio Association of Public Treasurers Conference tomorrow through Friday, and this allows me to get my continuing education hours needed to be earned in a condensed amount of time versus a whole week away at the other conferences. That's all I got.
All right, David?
I have nothing under correspondence.
I have nothing.
Danny? All right, and Linda, you may have been planning this in your report. I did put under correspondence the House Bill 47. You want to do that now or later?
You can do it.
Okay, well, let's go through that, because I think that's the one that'll have the most conversation tonight, if you want to. No, I'm expecting you to explain to everyone.
Oh, you are?
I can if you want me to, but,
I'll do it. House Bill 47 was just passed, and it went through all the committees, and it was signed by the governor. It takes effect October 24th of this year, which is just in a couple weeks. And basically, in a nutshell, what it's doing is it's requiring all municipalities that have any kind of athletic fields, recreational facilities, anything like that, that we have to place AEDs on site. So for us, for the township, and I believe it's for a population of 5,000 or more, so it does affect us as the township. So for us, we have to have two, because we have two fields that we use. We have the one with the playground, and it has the baseball and the soccer fields, and then we have the one across the street that they do junior peewee football at. Having an AED outdoors would require a box, waterproof box. We do have to leave it unlocked. It has to be accessible at all times for people to use in case of emergency, which then opens us up to theft and vandalism. AEDs on average are $1,500 to $2,000, and then the boxes are running around $300 each. So, and then we've got the pads are extra. When you buy the AED originally, the $1,500 to $200, or $2,000, I'm sorry, include all the pads and everything like a starter kit. But then every time you use them, you have to replace the pads, and the pads are a little more expensive. You have to keep up with the batteries. We have 4 here that we monitor every month to make sure that we've got the green check mark and everything's in working order. I don't know how we're going to do it at the parks, whether or not we need to check those weekly, daily, because somebody's going to come in and take out batteries or decide to open them up and open the pads and play with them, or whatever they're going to do. I think we'll be okay, my personal opinion, until maybe next spring, because we don't have a lot of activity in our park after the end of October. That's when the football stops across the street, and normally the baseball and the soccer teams are done. So I think we would have a little bit of a leeway. I did go through and read it, and the fine's like $100 if you don't have it when they think you should have it. The problem comes in if somebody has a heart attack and needs a defibrillator and you don't have one available and it says that you're supposed to, then we could get into more of a lawsuit. Morgan and I are looking into training. That's part of the aspect. All of us have to be trained on it. All the athletic coaches need to be trained. Anybody that's going to have the potential to use it needs to be trained. We also have to come up with an emergency plan, and we have to execute a drill every 3 months of how we're going to do this. So there's a lot of moving parts and logistics to go into it, so it's not just the cost of the AEDs and the boxes. It's going to be an ongoing cost of training, doing the emergency drills, and doing that kind of stuff. So that's something I don't know that we have a choice on. It's just going to be an added cost to the township. My biggest concern, like I said, would be vandalism and theft. So unless we got cameras or something to be on them that we could watch them and then prosecute people, I don't know how else we could keep those guarded. That's all I got to say.
I agree with you. The only thing in my mind, I know there's AEDs around various places have AEDs. I can't recall them being a target for vandalism, not that they couldn't be, but I can't recall them being a major target.
Do you know of any AEDs that are out in a public place without being
No.
watched? We have them here and nobody's bothered them, but they're locked.
Well,
If they're in a
No, that I don't-
McDonald's
that I
or
don't
whatever,
think
then
that-
they're being watched.
like in the middle of an open field.
It's crazy. for outside, but
I think so too. I don't know.
This is, David, this is going to require some more work. The thing is, they make it effective October 24th.
So soon, right?
Typically, I keep tabs on, through the OTA, legislation that might impact townships but hasn't been passed. Either I'd missed this one or it wasn't included, because this is beyond just townships. This affects any municipality that's over 5,000 residents, in addition to all the schools. But, you know, that short time window of being effective is the real difficulty, because it doesn't give you a lot of time to talk with others as to how do they plan to implement it, how can we implement it and comply with the statute, have that potential life-saving device available for people, but at the same time not have it open to vandalism and loss, which, you know, since they be out in public areas. You know, in places we can talk to OTARMA, our risk manager, because that's who you want to talk with, because now if somebody wants to say, hey, my loved one here suffered because you didn't comply with the law and provide this AED, well, OTARMA will represent us there, so what's OTARMA recommending? And they do the inspections of our parks on a regular basis to make sure we're in compliance. And our policies, we've got between the OTA and Lorraine County Township Association, because townships like Columbia, Eaton, Carlisle for certain, good chance Grafton, possibly Sheffield, they're going to have to comply. The city of Amherst, you know, it may be a question for them what they're going to do. I know they've got the soccer fields down in by the police station that are city-owned property. Most of the ball fields are school-owned property, so that'll be up to the school. And then what's the prosecutor say, which is our other representative? How are they, you know, how do people intend to do this on such short notice? Linda's already pointed out the things as far as the training and the quarterly exercise, the issue with batteries, you know, replenishment of consumable components on there. There's a lot to this.
Right,
The
and we have to
legislature-
adopt an emergency plan, so somebody's got to write it up. We got to go through all the,
Yeah, the emergency plan, I know the Department of Health is supposed to put out a model, but who knows, their model might be written for a large city, and as we've seen in these model plans in the past, they usually are well beyond anything we can handle. They're expecting people to have a large number of full-time staff or a park department itself. We just don't have that. You know, we're working here with 2 full-time employees and a whole bunch of part-timers. So it's just, you're aware of it now. I've asked Linda and Morgan to look into it in more detail, especially after I read it and went, holy smokes. And I didn't want to read through all the detail, but how do we address this? So Linda's got some cost estimates. We just got to decide what do we do with this. And as far as the requirement on coaches, is that an issue for us or is that an issue for the leagues? Do we have to, as we just redid our agreement with the soccer association, do we need to adjust that now and include that coaches shall have this training? Do we expect them to get the training on their own? Do we do that where we're bringing in the Red Cross, or, you know, we've had Life Care in the past, or someone else to provide this training? You know, I don't know where this is going to go, but again, had they put it for October 24th, 2025, you know, that'd give us a little planning time. So I don't understand how this came up so quick, and I happened to, at the college, run into a council person at the village of Sheffield and ask what their plan was. Well, I'll ask him. He didn't know anything about it. And I said, well, you might want to bring it up at council or do some research, and I gave him the bill number because I said, this just came out. And I know that the village is over 5,000 residents, so and they've got ball fields, so they're going to have to comply.
And we just found out about it midweek last week,
Right.
and we're with you on that. I read it, and Morgan usually reads it, and we didn't see it any time prior. So,
Yeah, so this is a big surprise. But again, there's going to be many others that are impacted. You know, all the large townships in the state are going to be impacted, and again, the municipalities, and more the smaller municipalities are probably the ones that are going to struggle more than the larger ones.
yeah, I know we have a lot of phone calls out. We haven't had a lot of return. We did reach out to Dave Friedman for Lorraine County Emergency Management, and he said they don't offer anything like that. Our best thing is to call American Red Cross.
Okay.
So I'll be calling them. However, right now is probably not the time to call the American Red Cross to ask any silly
Yeah.
questions. They have other issues that they're dealing with.
Yeah, but we may have to get on. I know any of the CPR certifications I carried in the past were all through the American Red Cross
Yeah.
training.
Yeah,
Yep.
I did.
So I'll be calling them. So I'm still looking into this. We're still looking. I mean, grants are going to be, I think, very difficult to find because there's going to be such a competitiveness to get them.
I know, like I had written back to you, I know we could put the $1,000 for 2025 more grant towards one of them, but we've already applied for 24.
Right, for this year.
But that's, when you, $1,000 or $250, you know, for our training dollars, it's more prudent to use the 1,000 towards that. But I didn't know if Dave would be able to help with the emergency plan either.
He suggested we go to the American Red Cross. He didn't say anything
Well,
about
the training, I
plan.
knew, but
Yeah.
I know I did life care too.
What about,
Life Care, we have a call into Kim Mason, and she hasn't called it back yet.
You have Kim's email?
Mhm.
wonder what the life of one of those defibrillators are.
Probably not good outside.
I'm sorry, say that
I
again?
wonder what the life is of one of those defibrillators.
Ours are 7 years old, but we keep them here in very contained environment. Outside, I mean,
We test them.
there's a green check mark or a red X, and it lets you know whether the batteries are dead or what needs any kind of maintenance.
And that's part of the plan here, David. Again, that's what you'll have to set up, is verifying that things are operational.
Who's going to go out and do
Right.
that?
And once you get outside, the difficulty is in the weather conditions is that the impact on battery life more than the electronics themselves inside. You know, the electronics inside, I can assure you, have been tested for the weather extremes, particularly with any fractures in any of the component or solder connections, but batteries are always a weakness. People
And then you help
handling them
people
once
close
they
the,
come out.
if they are looking at it for whatever reason, that they close the box to make sure that it's watertight.
Oh, it's got to be watertight, insect tight.
Well, the box would be watertight, but I'm saying if
But if
somebody
somebody
opened it to
opened it
look
up-
at it, you know, playing around or whatever, hey, what's in here? And they don't seal it up properly, we could get water in, we could get snow, ice.
Get a wasp nest in there if it's not sealed
Well,
up properly.
Wasp nest, absolutely.
Be a perfect
Would
home
it
for
be
'em.
prudent to put any, I mean, I know people don't look at signage and really don't care, but like this is a life-saving measure, not a toy, please. Don't touch unless,
Yeah. Well, the biggest,
Could do.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
yeah, the real thing will be the signage, some of the sign over there so they know where it's at. And,
Right.
you know, and you still want some people trained in how to use it, even though the equipment will step you through the steps as you're using it in a emergency situation. People, it's funny how their hearing and their cognitive abilities can be interrupted if they're not used to those tense situations.
Well, and that was one of the questions that I would call into OTARMA. And of course, you know, people are a little slow in responding at times. One of the questions is if we put it on the athletic teams to do their training, what kind of form do we have to have signed?
Mhm.
You know, trying to keep us in the clear like a hold harmless clause. Because if we're putting it on them and they're not doing the training, can it come back on us? So we want to.
If somebody's got 10 teams in their league, and each team in any given day could be down there, then you'd have 10 coaches that would have to be trained on that.
Right.
Did you contact Wendy at Otarma?
I've been talking to Becky Ames.
I just sent you Wendy's email.
Okay.
She's really fast
Okay,
quick on
yeah.
responding.
Usually I talk to
Emails.
Becky because that's the one that Kevin and I are used to, that comes out and does our park. I can try to call Wendy.
Yeah, and what I didn't, I don't know if you have, Linda, I didn't look at the actual legislation down to see if you don't meet this, is there any penalty? Because obviously,
$100.
meeting it by October 24th isn't going to happen.
There's a
If you're
$100
caught.
penalty for not meeting it the first time, and then I think it might be like 500 after that or something. I mean, it's nominal.
Per day or per,
It didn't say, and I read it, but it didn't say. I don't know. There's a lot of gray areas in it.
Light it.
yeah, either this wasn't well, oh, these are educated people, it either wasn't well thought out or we're misinterpreting
Well,
it
we
in
have
some
to-
way, but you
we have
read
to-
the specifics, it looks, it applies to us.
Talked to Richard Brown and Adam C. Bird. They're who,
Sponsored it.
yeah.
Yeah, but I saw
understand it.
one of our state senators signed on to it that represents our area too, so
I
he's pretty
see.
level-headed.
Yes.
So I don't know if they realize by putting that date, you know, again, had they given us a year to really dig into it, it'd be a different story, but to just send this out, pass this bill and say, oh, and it takes effect this month, like, what were they thinking?
In a couple weeks, right?
And now you're going to have, if communities really do want to comply, there's going to be a big rush on all these AEDs. What do you think that does to the supply and the cost? I mean, it's old, you know, supply and demand. So, and that's, you know, and I don't know if this is something, Linda, I'd mentioned this to you, I don't know if you had checked into it, so so at that level, it's not going to be a big savings, even if there was the state through their cooperative purchasing, if they've got this even on their list of devices. But I'm sure there's quite a few of them that the state uses.
Right, yeah, that's on my list to do. I tried to get into it the other day and couldn't, so I have to try again.
Again, this is so recent, but I just want to make sure everyone's aware of this. I know Linda sent out an email for you on this too, on what she's found out so far.
And I believe to the email also, I have the whole entire House bill printed out and attached to it. So it should give you all the specifics that's actually in the bill.
Yeah. Well, this is one that might save some lives. Hopefully that's the end result, which is a good thing, but doesn't seem like it was well thought out, you know, from a practical standpoint.
I think I agree with you there,
It
Neil. I
almost
got some
sounds like
reservations
it's
on
a
it
sports complexes.
that I don't understand. Number one
Staff
is,
persons of each sports and recreation location.
Yeah, but if you look in playing fields that are designated, operated, and maintained. And so when you look at the whole House bill, it does specifically say athletic fields such as playgrounds, ball fields, that kind of stuff
if
that are in
you-
use.
you've got any kind of a playground and you're over 5,000, you have to have a defibrillator there.
Yes.
I think it says, doesn't it say in the general area?
Yeah, it has to
Yeah,
be,
it
it
says-
even says it on here,
Sports and-
centralized area.
Sports and recreation location means indoor recreation centers and facilities, gymnasiums, swimming pools, and playing fields that are designated, operated, and maintained for those uses.
So we fall under the playgrounds and the playing fields.
But then it talks about that have staff who run the places.
Like a rec center. We had a recreation center, but we don't have one. Basically fields that we let people use. The way it sounds. Say playground, then we gotta have one
Yeah.
anyway because people go down there and play. But
if you're not gonna staff the place, what good is your staff being trained? You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna be there, train somebody who's not,
Did you hear me say
Again,
there's a
that
lot of
doesn't
gray
make
areas?
sense.
Yeah.
Unless you're
There are a lot.
working in
Yeah.
a building and caretaking, and you've got groups coming in and using your indoor tennis courts or your indoor basketball court or volleyball or some other kind of.
Again,
inside
David,
sport. I
it
don't-
also mentions the coaches, so that would be in a situation where you
Yeah.
don't have staff. Again, this is just to start out, to give the information. We need to get some more, educate ourselves better on this. It's just unfortunate this came out like a surprise. And again, I don't know what our adjoining communities are doing. I still think it may apply to the city of Amherst here only because they've got that one field. Again, most of it, they also have Maud Needing Park that, you know, if they consider the playground area, that they'd have to cover. It'd just be interesting how, you know, they're planning to do it.
Here's another question, Neil. You've got a large area, where are you gonna put the device? I mean,
Well,
if
in the
somebody
law-
needs it and it's 400 yards away, that's,
It's not going to be
gonna hurt.
specific, David. The law does tell you, and it even gives recommendations of an individual that knows the area to determine where the best location is. You're not going to have the perfect location, and that's the expectation, that you have knowledgeable people on board that know basic CPR. As always, you begin the CPR immediately, someone else calls 911, and someone else runs and gets the AED. That's very typical, and you'll get that during the training. So, you know, you can't have nobody has a walking AED with them all the time.
I guess, my question is, why an AED? What about a first aid kit? Should we throw in a first aid kit with that? Or, you know, people need to have training. You know, who needs to have training? How many people have training? What kind of training?
Yeah, it specifies the training in here. That is specified. Those other questions, you probably should run for
But-
state senator or state
Well,
representative.
just a critique of it, you know, one item is, for example, I believe if you were transporting, some of these transport services, the requirements that, you know, the drivers had to have first aid. Well, they're just training and, they're just basically giving people a ride. Now, all of a sudden, you got to have some kind of training in a quote emergency situation. And, you know, at what point do you require more and more and more? And at some point, you're going to have to require an EMT there. Or if you're going to do this or do that, you have to be an EMT.
So you're
See what I'm
arguing,
saying?
so it's very difficult when you have regulations added on, right, David?
That is
It increases
why
complexity, it
defibrillators.
increases
Well, these are,
cost.
no, these,
When you read the
it
actual
does,
bill, it just
but-
talks so much about schools.
it's questions.
Yeah.
And like you said, you don't have a chance to bring up questions. It just came here and it's,
We can all have questions, and if I were arguing the other side, which I'm not, but they would tell you, they would make some silly comment like, Mr. Uhrig, are you putting a value on a human life and diminishing the value of a human life? Is that
Well,
what you're saying?
I think you're
What if
right,
it was
Neil.
your mother?
I think
you
you're
know how
right.
it-
I think
you
you're
know
right.
how
So
it
I'm going to
works.
propose that every half mile, we have an ambulance station.
Okay.
I
Well-
think no person should be
We've got
less than
enough.
more than a half mile from
I
an
just
ambulance.
wish
So every
somebody
corner we'll put
would
an
have
ambulance
sent out
station.
a,
I think everybody should be within 500 feet of an EMT.
it would have been
I
nice to
mean,
get a
we're-
survey and say, what do you think about this? Is this feasible? What do you see as some of the issues that we might run across? What are, you know, and then we could have wrote,
Where do you draw the line? And I can see
know.
other things being added. You know, we might want to leave some room next to the AED box so that, you know, the other things that'll be required later on, we can put there. And I
But
think
then
the training
again-
gets to be more and more. And
you got stupid kids
you
and
just want to
stupid
coach
people.
coach some kids in soccer, and you're going to have to have a full-blown medical degree for just in case there's an emergency.
I guess if that happens, we just have to shut down the park and remove the playground.
No,
equipment and
at
say
one
it's
point-
closed.
I'm afraid that's what's
It's going
could
to be closed.
happen.
Yeah.
It's, but, you know, David, it's just, again, our state legislatures, as soon as you put them in and you say that their purpose is to set laws, guess what they're going to do? They're going to set laws, and new ones coming in, it just keeps adding. I mean, since I've been a trustee, now I've got to take ethics training, public records training, fraud reporting training. I mean, it's they keep adding, and that you've got to add this up. And a lot of it seems like common sense, but they just keep adding it on there, you know? And first we had to
Doesn't
come
pave
up
one
with
mile of
policies.
road.
We had policies for marijuana, and then all of a sudden medical marijuana comes through, and then we get in the
Solar
question, what do we
farmers.
do on hiring of new people and changing, you know, what can we put on the application? I mean, I can no longer have on an application where you're convicted of a felony because I'm depriving people of their opportunity in pursuit of happiness. Now, I'm allowed to ask them the question, but I can't put it on the application that they fill out. I mean, this is the silliness, but this is what we got to deal with. So, Linda, at this time, we aren't going to meet October 24th. It's just not going to happen.
No, we're not. Even if we ordered something tomorrow, there's no guarantee we would get it
No,
all
it'll be sitting in a
up and running, and
box.
we wouldn't have the training, yeah.
Yeah, so it's,
We still have a lot more investigation to do and a lot more phone calls to make.
yeah, we'll see what Otarma says. We've, as I said, I think locally, Lorraine County Township Association, we might do it with, as we've done in the past with some of our meetings, is try and get the OTA on a Zoom meeting so that they can come in, since they would have obviously been here lobbying one way or the other. I did not search to see what the testimony was on this, but as you're aware, it goes through different committees, and you can get lost in all of that and searching for those. At this point, it's already done, so what do we do moving forward? And doing our best to comply.
Is there a possibility, because I'm not sure how these work, but is there a possibility that if we call down to Columbus and enough people call down and say this deadline is just impossible, that they could change the date on it?
They could. It may take some time. It's, I would certainly hope that those smaller municipalities are doing just that. You know, it's very similar if you think about the COVID and then the ARPA money, the dates kept getting moved, and what the money could apply to kept getting changed, and you know, the same thing can happen here, because again, realistically, to put something in there just didn't make sense. You just release this and you say we've got to comply this month, and it just doesn't make sense. So now you'll have a whole bunch of communities running out with a big rush on AEDs. It's going to be just like people hoarding toilet paper.
Right.
You
And
know, the
trying to get
shelves
the
will be
American
bare.
Red Cross to train you in
Right.
this short amount of time with the 2 hurricanes that are going on.
Right. Yeah, but as you pointed out, our organized sports, you know, will be dying down at this period of time. So it's, you know, I don't see that as the issue yet. You know, maybe these will get so cheap in the future that each coach can carry one. As David asked about the first aid kit, any time I've coached, and this goes back even over 40 years ago, we always had a first aid kit with us. But you're usually talking some medical tape and bandages and, you know, different types of
And maybe that's
antibacterial things.
Portable one, AED system with you as a coach.
Yeah, if they get them where the cost is low enough, because,
And then each team maybe could have their own or something that
Right.
would be better.
I mean, we each had our own first aid kit, but it was pretty basic, you know, it fit in a lunchbox. You didn't even have, you know, the training on setting bones or slings, you know. At that point, you just kept the person there till an ambulance arrived. But, you know, scrapes, bruises, you know, bangs on the head, seizures, you know, hearts disruption. And if you're in organized sports, it's going to happen. Guaranteed it's going to happen. So, okay, well, everyone's aware of it now and what the situation is. If Linda, I don't know if you need help from anyone. I'll be reaching out to Lorraine County Township Association to see if we can get this as an agenda item, whether we work through OTARMA, because all of the Lorraine County Townships are part of OTARMA, or the OTA, or both of them together, to help us through this as to how do we comply. But I can't guarantee that, because realize many of our townships don't have to comply because they'll be under 5,000 residents. So they'll just tune it out or say, why are we wasting a meeting on this topic? Okay.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated as we
Okay.
get more information.
All right, well, thank you.
Mhm.
Let's see. So we'll move on to reports. Okay, the ambulance service, I've already mentioned, the next meeting is November 7th at 11 a.m. at the fire station. I do have in your packet a prepared resolution, even though technically as the chair I can just appoint the members to the Sandstone Joint Ambulance District, but so just a reminder for everyone, when the bylaws changed this year, we now get 3 representatives versus 2 representatives, and Denny's asked to step off the board. So I spoke with Melissa Gilker, who serves on our Board of Zoning Appeals. Melissa, actually, her background is in the medical field. Previously, I think she even worked for Life Care at one time. She's now in a supervisory role. She is very familiar with the area, will be much more knowledgeable than I am, and I serve on the board. Keep in mind, we can appoint alternates also. But let's first just take care of getting Melissa here. So this is a prepared resolution that's appointing Melissa to the Sandstone Joint Ambulance District Board. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, if no other discussion, roll call, Chris?
Lynch,
Yes.
Abraham,
Yes.
Euring.
Yes.
And the number on that, Chris?
10-4-24.
And before we leave that, I don't know if David, did we officially appoint you as an alternate?
No, I couldn't because of a conflict.
Okay, so you can't, okay,
Yeah, I canceled that. We were going to, and I said no.
okay. Well, I'd like to get some alternates too. Even, again, the meeting isn't a heavy lift because it's only 4 times a year, generally an hour. Obviously, the key is to, the biggest thing is reviewing the exceptions as far as any runs that might exceed 10 minutes. We'd really like to keep them much shorter than that. At the next meeting, and hopefully, I don't know if there's been confirmation, but we were hoping to have representatives from the Southern Lorraine County Ambulance District and Central Lorraine County Ambulance District, discuss their operations, how they actually formed originally, what they do in terms of levies, runs, how they compare to us, what their staffing is, just to see if we can learn something there, since we know in less than 3 years, unless we execute the 1-year contract extension with Life Care, we will be going out for bid again. Sheriff's not here. Sam sent me a text just prior to the meeting that he wouldn't be here. I didn't see any zoning report in our box, but there will be at the November zoning commission meeting. There will be 2 site plan reviews, one for another building. I believe it was like a 50 by 70 or 50 by 80, I forget the number, accessory building that will be at Slyman's auto dealership, and there will also be the finals, and he's going straight for the final. And then also the school, Amherst Exempted Village Schools transportation facility on the east side of Dewey Road will also be coming in for the final site plan review. And then I did have, of course, I had here to set on October 22nd. I cannot make that meeting because I will be having some surgery. I was hoping that, and David, I was going to have everything set for you to run that meeting and also the public hearing for a
Denny
zoning
won't
text
be there.
amendment. Right, and I found out Denny can't be here. So you've got in your packet a document I had intended on having sent to the Chronicle to give the required public notice for the public hearing on the zoning text amendment on October 22nd at 7:30. But knowing Denny won't be here and I won't be here, we obviously can't do the 22nd. The revised code says that we should hold the public hearing within 30 days of receiving the notification from the zoning commission. Well, October 22nd would have been fine, but to squeak it in between that, there's either got to be a special meeting, and I can't guarantee, because this is going to be pretty extensive surgery, what condition I'll be in. So between you and Denny, determine if you can make a date, but then we've got to give this notice to the Chronicle. I did try reaching the prosecutor as soon as I found out Denny couldn't make it, but he happens to be...
Would you be available the 29th, Denny?
I won't be available till after the 1st. I may not be available till the 12th when we have our first meeting.
Okay. Okay.
Well, what I'll do, David,
All right, wait a minute. Okay, you can't make the 22nd. What about, how much time do we need to get this in the paper?
well, that's the other
We'll do it
thing.
the 21st.
I'm not doing it the day before surgery because they aren't calling me what time I have to go in for surgery until the day before.
Okay.
So if I have to show up as I did before at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm not coming in here to meet at a public
Okay.
hearing.
Well, that's out.
I'll just have to see what the prosecutor says because our options are send the notice as it is and then put a note that it had to be rescheduled to our meeting that is on the 12th of November due to a lack of a quorum. Or if we can say it will be November 12th, but I need guidance from the prosecutor from a legal standpoint what to put on this notice. But typically we decide at the first meeting of the month so that we meet we don't do it too soon, but we don't go beyond the 30 days. So it's, the best laid plans here aren't going to work out. So I can't say what date it'll be till we talk or hear from the prosecutor on this. And he was in a executive session when I tried to reach him at the county. And I let him know that we'd be going into a meeting, and that was probably around 6:30, that we'd be in a meeting at 7 o'clock, so I couldn't really take a call. I told him I'd call him after the meeting. But just be aware we're going to have a hearing on this zoning text amendment. I just don't know what the date will be. Okay? Fire prevention officer's not here. Roads, parks, and cemetery, Superintendent Smarsh.
Everything's running smooth. Dumpster day was last week, and that went real well. It was just nice and steady. We did 6 garbage dumpsters, 40-yarders, and 1 fairly full 40-yard scrap dumpster, which is the lowest of the dumpsters since I've been here 10 years.
The lowest?
Yep.
640, or what type of dumpsters was the first one?
Garbage dumpster.
Thank you.
Question for Kevin?
No?
Okay. And Kevin, just so you're aware, and I was waiting for a letter, there was from the developer at Hampshire, who I believe he indicated he met with you and determined some slabs you want replaced. And he's been having difficulty getting a hold of the contractor that was awarded that contract, which was through the county. And he felt we need to execute the bond to get that done. And I said, fine. I said, why don't you send me a letter of exactly, who the contractor was, which ones are deficient, which one, what needs to be replaced, and the fact that we're going to expect adherence to the bond to get this done. And if the contractor doesn't come back to get it done, we're going to have to get, the county, probably work through them to get those replaced. And unfortunately, the contractor that originally put it down will have to pay the cost. And, but I haven't received that email, and that was last week. Because there was a question, is it the county or the township who initiates that letter? I think it's going to be, though it becomes a township road, most likely, since the bidding out was done through the county, it'll be the county. But, again, we just need to find out. But I have no problem sending a letter, but I was not going to sit down to compose the letter since I was not privy to all the details. I want the developer to put together the letter and send it to me. Okay?
John Everson and I walked through there whenever that was, a month and a half, 2 months ago maybe even, and a couple of slabs that needed to be replaced, which had cracks in them, they were replaced.
Well, then I got a fine from him that he just called last week. So,
Yeah, it would have been finished up like 3 weeks ago.
maybe he's not aware of it. Perhaps he had contacted the contractor and he just went out and did it and didn't tell him.
Yeah, because the contractor that put the road down wasn't even the one that replaced it.
Okay. I'll give John a call because I need to find out where the letter is anyway, and see if he's even aware of that.
The county's aware that the slabs were torn out and pulled out because there was an inspector over there.
They may have taken care of it. And again, it just may be people not talking. Okay, and if John met with you that long ago, he's probably going through his to-do list and realized he missed one and gave me a call. Okay, because he used your name. Hey, I was out with Kevin Smarsh and we determined some slabs need to be replaced. And
We had some bad slabs, and they're replaced right now.
Yes.
We didn't get a bill on those slabs.
No.
Okay. Well, really, with us, there's no problem. There's no problem right now. What we wanted was done, and nobody sent us a bill, so everything should be okay with us. If something more needs to be done, then somebody else has got to pursue it from their angle.
I'll follow up and close the loop.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Kevin? All right, Township Administrator and Senior Services, Linda Ashley.
Again, as I said last time, Medicare open enrollment starts October 15th and runs through December 7th. There's a lot of changes to Medicare for the Part D for next year, so if you have Part D, you might want to have somebody look at it and see what a lot of the Medicare Advantage plans have been discontinued. So if they have one of the ones that are discontinued, want to look at it again and pick a new plan. And the Part Ds, because of the Inflation Reduction Act, there's different things that are affecting Part D. So I strongly suggest that you have an independent broker, insurance broker, or you can come in here and talk to me and we'll go over what medications you're on, what would be the best bet for you, what's going to be the best price. Some of them, the $2,000 cap is for the payment for the drugs, does not include the premiums. So a lot of the plans have now increased their premium rates
Yeah.
to comply to the $2,000 out-of-pocket rate.
Yeah.
Old you know, trading in a car and buying a new car. You're going to get the money on either end. So,
Like Ford's going to give you the free EV at-home charger. Yeah, there's
right.
nothing
So,
free.
Nothing's free. So just, you know, take a look at that. So I've been getting a lot of calls on Medicare, and we're doing that. OPWC, I believe the subcommittee meets tomorrow. So we should know pretty soon, round 39, that we put in for Rustic Hill, if we're awarded that for next year.
Fingers crossed.
Our 2 projects for this year are done. All the paperwork's done on those, so we can file that away. Morgan and I are just working on gathering all the information. She's doing variances, trying to do a spreadsheet on all the variances that we have so that it can be a searchable database, because we have a lot of variances that were granted years ago and that we have no idea. So, you know, it could be something as simple as a garage being moved over closer to a property line, and then new people move in and they want to rebuild the garage, and then they're told they can't rebuild it because it's too close to the property line, not even knowing that there's a variance for that property. So that's one of the things we're trying to get organized. Going through boxes, doing the R1, R2, and RC for the records destruction, that kind of stuff. We've got a lot of fill work to do. We do have a couple things that came in. One is Rice Lane, and I've talked to you about it, David.
Yes.
I don't know what we want to do about that. The gentleman I spoke to last week, and they still would like a resolution to their issue of the cars using it and driving through. Semi-trucks. They said Amazon, UPS, those kind of things are the biggest issue.
Denny, did you know anything
School
about
buses.
Rice Lane?
Do I
Right.
know
Is
anything
it Rice?
about?
Rice Lane,
Not Rice Court, Rice Lane, that, should we call it an alleyway between Middle Ridge and Rice Roads? There's a one Betty Stock by her property in that area. There's a small road street. It's
Excuse me,
somehow.
David, while you're doing it, I'm going to step out for a minute, check what the prosecutor said, okay?
Okay.
Do I know anything about Rice Lane?
yeah, historically.
No, I do not know anything about it.
Okay.
I
Okay.
do not.
I would say it's
It was a road, it's a road as far back as 1874, and they call it Rice Lane, but it has not been maintained, and it's just like a single lane,
Yes.
and it's actually on the homeowner's property, but it does show it now on the auditor's site. And so it's being, Google Maps, Waze, all those are picking it up as a road and directing traffic through. And it's very narrow, and it's kind of, he said it's almost gravel-like because it's so,
I believe
Old.
it was at one time chipped and sealed,
it may have been,
but
but
right
it's,
now
it's more just, it's beat up and it's gravel. So our choice, I spoke with the auditor, and we have 2 choices. We can either vacate the road or we can maintain the road as a road. So that's something that I don't have the authority to do. It's up to you 3. You can see Georgianne put it up. There's that little kind of rectangle area. She's pointing at it. And there's the little road right there. It's
back
Rice
of
Lane.
Horvath's, west of Horvath's.
Yeah, right. Sunday's Deli is right on the corner. And they're
I
showing it
couldn't
as a
tell you
full
about
road,
that.
and the property owners are saying it's not, you can see, it's not even straight on, you know, according to the auditors, it kind of veers off to the right instead of going straight up.
I know nothing about that road. What is she asking us to do?
They don't want there's a couple homeowners there, there's like actually 3 homes. They don't want the school buses using it to go through like they do. They have semi-trucks that are going through. If it's a road, they need it maintained as a road, because right now it's not, it's just kind of gravel. And if it's going to be vacated, they want it on their private property so that they could use it as a private drive.
Well, then that would be up to them to maintain it.
Well,
If we
If it
vacate
would-
it, yes,
if it
then
was
that would be up to
vacated,
them.
yes.
But then they could also post signs saying,
Private
not a
property.
through street,
Right.
private property.
I was told from a while ago when we used to pothole it, John had said that it wasn't, it wasn't a road, but we use it, so we would help out maintaining it. And then back in 17, when there was some complaints, the guy yelled at the school bus driver, I talked with someone from the county, and then they told me that it wasn't a road. So then we just stayed away from it, and the buses were going around. But now, more traffic has gone on, so that's why now they're complaining.
There are some records that say it's a road, there's some records that say it's not a road.
According to the auditor, what they
Question.
looked up, it was from 1874, and I do have a historical map from 1874 that does show it as a road. So unless it was vacated between 1874 and now, at some time,
I'll try it tomorrow. I'll try and cipher out and talk with whoever I talk to and see where they got their information.
okay.
You know, my feeling is what the people want, if they want that to go to a private road, then we could start vacation proceedings. If they want it as a public road, then it needs to be defined better as a public road, and it needs to have a well-defined right-of-way, and it needs to be kept up as such.
Now, there's another little, small complication in the thing. See the big barn that's there on the left-hand side? It says 150 on the top.
Yeah,
If you click on that property, it goes all the way over to the other side of the road on the auditors. Might be, go over one a little bit, Georgianne, there you go. It goes all the way over to the other side of the road. The deed on that particular property states that they own the property from the center line of Rice Road all the way over to the eastern line after the unnamed road that goes between Middle Ridge and Rice.
well,
What
no,
it
there's
says
nothing
on the deed.
unusual about that. It's by easement, and there should be an easement there.
Well, there's no easement mentioned. It's saying that she owns the property. I get it, David.
Yeah, generally,
That's what
on
I
the
asked. I
older
said-
roads, it's to the center of the road. You own to the center of the road.
Right, but
The road is by easement, and
she's owning all the way over. And there's no right-of-ways mentioned or no easements mentioned.
a road is mentioned. A private road. Road's a road, but it's public or private. Well, may have to go to a recess till Neil gets back. I'll call for like a 5 minute. Do you have anything else, Linda?
Nope, and that's it.
Okay, do we have anything else? Where are we at here? Road superintendent, senior services, Lorco, no.
Complaints.
We have one
Second Tuesday.
resolution to pass, 18-month extension on memorandum of understanding.
Yeah, I think that'll be under new business, but complaints is first.
Pardon?
Complaints is first, then we have new business.
Well, Linda, if you have nothing else under
I have nothing else.
administrator, and you have nothing else under roads,
No.
I would make a motion or just call
No, just
for
say a
a,
5-minute recess.
just call for a 5-minute recess.
Second?
Euring,
Yes.
Abraham,
Yes.
usually do
Within
that.
5-minute recess, that's okay.
So,
Okay, we're going to return from recess to the regular meeting. We'll first go on and finish up with the business, and then I'll come back to the information that the prosecutor relayed to me. And if you have any additional questions that I can't answer, our options are we can go into executive session and call the prosecutor, or you can contact the prosecutor individually yourself. So as far as the other items on the agenda, is there anything that's assigned to the specific trustees that need to be brought forward?
At this time, no, I have nothing.
I have nothing.
And Kevin, only because we have the opportunity in applying for the Stormwater District grant, and we've got to decide if we do that, if we do which project. Were you able to have any contact with Bill Kiefer or anything on the tributary to the Engle?
Yes, I have, but I still need more time to try
Okay.
and talk with the rest.
Well,
of them.
because there's such a large group there, because we have a couple of options to consider, but you know, the difficulty is always getting estimates on cost, even through the county engineer's office. And, you know, the areas we've received the complaints are this one, and then also at Quarry Creek over on the western side. Both of them, though, this one, it seems like you got a large group that's all positive and interested. Quarry Creek, you may have, you know, people on both sides, depending upon who's dealing with the flooding issues. And with the new application, if all the property owners are in agreement and willing to sign an easement, so it allows the equipment to come in, not only to do the initial reconstruction and repair, but ongoing maintenance, the way it was put to us at the last Stormwater District, you will move up to the top of the list because the county commissioners have a time deadline for expending those ARPA funds, and that will just make it a lot easier on everyone. It's always getting those easements, as you know, we're accustomed to the difficulty in doing that from property owners. It just seems to take an awful long time before you get through that. And we also try to avoid going through the forcing it upon property owners through the public hearings before the Board of Commissioners. You know, we prefer that it be done cooperatively and willingly. But I'll wait till you get something more back from them. We have until, I think it's the end of January 2026 to make that decision if we do it. And like both of these two potentials are a lower cost version also. Okay. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm going to move on to new business. You have a prepared resolution in front of you that is an 18-month extension of the Memorandum of Understanding with Lorraine County Board of Commissioners to participate in the wireless emergency notification system. Cost to us, which is based on population, would be $422 to extend this. Realize the previous agreement was a 3-year term that was put in place. The reason for this extension is obviously there's been changeover in personnel at the county, and I've included the letter that, and I think this was sent to you, Chris, and Chris had forwarded on to me from the Emergency Management Director, David Freeman, talking about the reasons for the contract extension versus initiating a whole new 3-year contract. But again, this would run through March 30th of 2025, and the cost to Amherst Township would be $422. In David's information, he gives the number of residents that are actually using this, the WEN system. It is quite high. You might notice sometimes when people are sitting here, you hear the phones going off because they've signed up to that WEN system. But in any case, I'm going to make a motion that we enter into this 18-month extension, the MOU with Lorraine County Board of Commissioners to participate in the wireless emergency notification system.
I will second.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Okay, roll call, Chris?
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
The number on that, Chris?
10-5. 24.
Okay, now I just want to come back to the zoning public hearing. Based on the discussion with the prosecutor, we have several options. One, if we leave the proposed public notice go as it is to be October 22nd, which we know we can't make because there'd be no quorum, essentially the amendment, as my understanding, would just die, which would mean that we'd have to start the whole process over again. And our other option is that, yeah, we don't need those comments, please. The other option is we have to hold a special meeting, but that means we've got to do this within the time constraints that are set in the Ohio Revised Code, Section 519.12F. And, oops, hang on, that's the wrong one. This would be E3, I'm sorry, E3. And what that says is that the public hearing has to be, the notice has to be in the paper at least 10 days before the date of the hearing, but no more than 30 days from receiving notice from the zoning commission, which is today, October 8th. So if you look at the schedule, if we have to be within 30 days, that means we've got to have it no later than, right, let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 28. Yes, we actually, I don't know if we can do it in November and meet that. Looks like we can.
Did you say about continuing a meeting?
To do that,
We have to open.
let's go with the timing here, David. That gives us October 21st. Let me first ask, that's a Monday. Are you available October 21st, the day before my surgery?
I'm available.
And this is the key. If I email this to the Chronicle tonight, which means I got to go home tonight, update the public notice, email it to the Chronicle, hope they look at it tomorrow on the 9th. They will typically send it back to make sure that, is this the right, they'll send, here's our proposed layout, is this okay? Which means they most likely put it in on the 11th, which is Friday. As long as the Chronicle hits their time frame and does it on the 11th, and that would put us within the window. If they go too far beyond that, we didn't make the deadlines, okay, of the 30-day notice. So it's how confident are we that the Chronicle will, they generally do get it on time, but that's what we've got to hope that they do if we're going to say the 21st. Because this would be, I'll get it in 12 days before, as long as they're on time. That's counting weekends.
What
And-
time do you want to do it?
Well, we're not doing it in the evening. I am not going to come in here not knowing how long I'll be here and having to
Yeah.
probably get up super early on Tuesday for a major surgery. So I would say, are you available at 9 a.m. on the 21st?
Yeah.
And we can just continue the public hearing then and pick a date afterwards.
Yeah.
It'll be October 21st, 9 o'clock a.m.
It'll be a special meeting.
Be a public hearing. There's not going to be any meeting. Strictly going to be a public hearing. You've got to have it for an examination of 10 days. I'm going to have to say from October 11th. The Chronicle won't get it in till the 11th. Okay. All right, so that'll be on Monday, October 21st, 9 o'clock a.m. for a public hearing on a zoning text amendment. I'll get that updated tonight and get that off to the Chronicle. Okay, is there any other new business?
Since we're in calendars, could we look at December for our organizational meeting? So we're not having a meeting on October 22nd, or we are having a meeting?
We are not, on the 22nd, there'll be no meeting. It's canceled for lack of a quorum.
Yeah, lack of a quorum. Let me ask you a question, Chris. Would you have the bills ready for the 21st? We could vote to pay any bills that were in by the 21st.
I don't know what, we have to have an organizational meeting.
No. Let's go back to the October meeting.
Oh, I can't be here at 9 o'clock in the morning. I have a full-time job.
Oh, yeah, but you could give us the bills.
I would just wait till the 12th. There's nothing.
The 12th? Okay, there's nothing pressing. We
No,
don't have to
there's
pay
no-
anything. All right. That was my question. So, okay, we can go till the 12th without, 12th of November without a regular meeting. All right? That's a moot point. Okay, now we'll go back to the organizational. You want to go to December?
Just because the 24th would be our second meeting. So I didn't know if you wanted to do the 17th.
The 17th works for me.
The 17th that would be our regular meeting anyway. No,
No, do the
the
10th.
3rd. You're right. We'll be okay. 10 and 24. We'll do everything 17th.
Just asking if, since we had calendars out.
Does that work for you, Denny?
Yes.
Are we going to still have a meeting on the 10th?
Mhm.
So 12:10 and 12:17.
Thanks.
And no meeting on the 24th
Oh,
So on the
December.
phone.
of December. Yes, my bad.
You're all set then, Chris?
Mhm.
All right, I'll get those meeting notices and the public hearing notice taken care of. Our next regular meeting then will be at 7 o'clock on Tuesday,
12th
November. And October 22nd meeting will be canceled due to the lack of a quorum. Okay, is there any other business?
motion.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Abraham?
Yes.
Euring?
yes.
Lynch?
Yes.